It's time for another Dice Tower review with John Richard.
Howdy gamers, greetings from Indianapolis, Indiana, the gaming capital of the world. It's time for another board game review with me, Indiana John. Today we're taking a look at Pictomania, a party game released recently by Stronghold Games and designed by Vlada Chvátil, who is the designer of my #1 all-time favorite game, Through the Ages: A Story of Civilization. But Through the Ages: A Story of Civilization is a 4-hour Euro strategy game with lots of fiddly cubes and complex rules. This is a very short party game that has a picture of a dinosaur holding a blue pencil. So that's a little bit of a departure from this designer. So I was very interested to get my hands on a copy of this and see what it's all about. So let's take a look at the setup and gameplay of Pictomania and see if we can answer that all-important gamer question, is it fun? So here's the setup for Pictomania. Every player is going to get a dry erase drawing board and a nice marker that comes with it. These are actually really nice markers that have the name of the game on them. That's exciting. Every player is also going to get a small deck of these 7 voting or guessing cards. Talk about those in a second. And you're going to get point tokens that you're going to be awarding to people who guess your drawing. And you're always going to have 1 less than the number of players in the game. So here I've got set up for a 5-player game, and they're in decreasing numbers of stars or points. You also have these bonus tokens, which are worth points. There's sort of a timer for the end of the round. We'll talk about that in a second. And then the main attraction here is the card row. And this is going to determine what you're going to be drawing on each round. And as you can see, there are 7 items on each card. And regardless of the number of players, you're always going to play with 6 cards in these holders. And you'll see that each card is associated with a particular symbol. So the game comes with 4 decks of cards of increasing difficulty: green, orange, blue, and then these crazy purple ones that have just insane things that you have to draw on them. And you can choose which deck you want each round. And so at the beginning of every round, we've got this little deck of cards here that has all of the symbols on them, and a deck of cards that has 1 through 7 numbers on them. So at the beginning of each round, you're going to get dealt out a symbol and a number, and then that's going to determine what you're going to draw on this round. So let's see what I have to draw this time. Okay, so I have a star 1. So we look for the star and number 1, and you can see that what I have to draw this turn is a sleeve. So let's figure out how we're going to do that. So then after everybody has gotten their assignment of what they're going to draw, then the round is going to begin. Someone says go. And then you're going to do 2 things during your round. 1, you're going to draw the picture that is on your card there. So I'm going to have to draw a sleeve of some kind. At the same time that I'm drawing the sleeve, though, and everyone else is drawing their cards, what's on their cards, you're going to be trying to guess what the other players are drawing. So you're drawing and guessing kind of at the same time. And you can choose to guess first or draw first. It's entirely up to you. But you know, there's a sort of a speed element to it. So I might grab my board here and very quickly say, okay, I'm going to draw a really badly done shirt. And we'll put a dude in the shirt there. I don't draw very well. And then we'll just put a big arrow here pointing to the sleeve. So there you go. There's my masterpiece of a drawing there. So once I'm done drawing, let's say, now I'm going to be looking around at all of the other players and trying to guess what they are drawing. And what I have are these voting cards that are represented by just the numbers. So I'm not trying to guess so much the symbol, just the number of what they've drawn. So for example, I might look around and see that my opponent here has played a well, obviously it was a triangle, right? So I'm like, oh, that's a triangle. Well, let me see if I can find a triangle on these cards here. So I look around here and, then I see that right here under the Pokeball card, Pokeball number 5 is definitely a triangle. So I would grab my cards here very quickly and I would find a number 5, and then I'm going to take and put that on top of their pile of cards, the 2 cards that they had gotten assigned to them. And so that is my vote for them. So that means I can't vote for any other 5s that are on there. It also means that if I'm correct, there won't be any other 5s because there's only 1 5 that's going to be handed out. So I'm going to be frantically again trying to figure out which person drew which number, and I'm going to be throwing those down onto their piles of cards. And the order of the cards does matter, and we'll talk about that in scoring. So then once I'm done guessing and drawing, then if I'm done with my round, then I am going to grab the highest leftover bonus token that's left on the board there. So I'll grab that, and people are going to be doing that. These will slowly get depleted, and then the second to last player will grab the last one of these, and then that will be the end of the round. No more guessing and no more drawing. And then we will move on to the scoring phase. So in the scoring phase, then we're going to go around to each player and sort of assess how well people did on their guessing. So we'll start with Mr. Triangle over here. And he definitely did Pokeball number 5, so that's the triangle. And then you're gonna look at the first person who guessed and see if they got it right. So they got a 5, they got it correctly. So this person is going to have point tokens in front of them, just like the other guys. And you're gonna hand out the point tokens. So red is going to get number 3 points and is also gonna get that card back. And then whoever the blue player is, they got it right, they're going to get the 2 token and they're going to get their card back. So that's then we'll move on to the next player. And we'll see the 2 people guessed on this one. And you see I was star number 1, which was a sleeve. Very good. And then we see that the green player, they got that right as well. So they're going to get the 3 points and get their card back. And then we see the blue player. The blue player did not get it right. I don't know what they were thinking, but they didn't get it right. So they don't get any points. And they also get their card thrown into the middle of the pile here. And as we go around, any incorrect guesses are going to be thrown into this middle pile. And here's why. When you get to scoring, here's how you score. You're going to take the number of points that you got in other people's colors. So things that represent guesses that you got correctly. Those are positive points for you. But any points that you have left over that people did not guess yours correctly, those are going to be negative points for you. And then, if you happen to be the person who had the most incorrect guesses in the round, they are called the black sheep. And the black sheep, when you pull these bonus tokens at the very end of the round, that kind of end the round, if you're the black sheep, then those bonus tokens are actually going to be worth negative points. So that's kind of incentive for you for you to not just sort of draw a crummy picture and make a bunch of guesses and then pull this really quickly to be able to get these 3 points no matter what. Because if you don't do a good enough job of guessing, then these are going to be worth negative points. But for anybody else who's not the black sheep, those are going to be worth positive points. So let's say these guys pulled these right here. So my drawing of the sleeve got me 3 points here. Unfortunately, a bunch of people didn't guess or didn't get a chance to, so that's 4 points negative. So that's 3 minus 4 minus 1, and then I get plus 2 because of this. So I get a whopping 1 point for this round. So you pretty much will reset, give everybody back their tokens and their cards, and then you will reset all of these cards from whatever deck you feel like, and you'll do this for 5 rounds. At the end of 5 rounds, the player with the most points is the winner of Pictomania. In general, I really like games that have some sort of a skill or knowledge element to them that will reward somebody who has that particular skill or knowledge, but that also doesn't punish people for not having that skill or knowledge. A great example of this for me is the game Wits and Wagers, which is a trivia game where if you know a whole lot about numeric answers to trivia questions, then you're probably going to do pretty well in the game. But if you don't have that knowledge, you can still do well in the game by guessing the answers, the correct answers of people that you're playing with. So I really like that. And this is a great example of a game that does that in the drawing game realm. So if you're really good at drawing, then you're going to probably get some good points because people are going to be guessing your drawing and they'll get it right because you did such a good job drawing. But you also have to additionally be good at guessing other people's drawings. So if you're just good at drawing but you're terrible at guessing, well then you're not going to do that well in the game. And if you're really good at guessing but terrible at drawing, then it's sort of the same thing. So it sort of balances things out in this game. I've heard this called a party game for gamers. I think that's probably pretty true, although I've played this with some non-gamers and they've been able to pick it up pretty well as well. I'm a huge fan of this game. I really, really like it. I think it's super fun. I really like the element of drawing and guessing at the same time. I'm going to tell you that when I first got this game, that was the main thing I was worried about, is that speed element of, oh my gosh, I've got to draw and then I've got to guess and there's everybody doing it at the same time. I thought that the chaos was going to be too much and I would just be stressed out and not have any fun. But what I sort of found in most of the games is that people draw pretty quickly and then you spend the whole time staring at those cards trying to figure out what exactly did Bob draw, because he is terrible at drawing. I have no idea what that is. And just sort of laughing while you're guessing, and table talk around the table, just people just laughing over the fact that they can't figure out what something is. So I think it's just a whole lot of fun. If you're bad at speed games, you might find yourself lagging behind a little bit. I'm bad at speed games, and so I found that a lot of times I was the last person to pick up a bonus tile, or maybe I didn't get that last bonus tile. But I still found that my skills were sort of in the middle, where I was okay at drawing and okay at guessing, and so it sort of evened things out. And I didn't win a lot of these games, but I also didn't get last place very often. So I would highly recommend this. I think it plays really well with all numbers of players, although I think that with the full complement of 6, I think it's great chaotic fun. So I would highly recommend this one. My only criticism regarding the components is that the little sponges that it comes with to wipe off your dry erase boards, those are not very good, and they do not wipe off very well. And so I'm sure that was probably a cost measure. They look kind of neat, but they don't really do the job so well. So you might need to have some paper towels or something handy to really get those boards clean. But other than that, I think the components are great. I would recommend sleeving the cards if you have them, because they get grunged up pretty quickly with dry erase goo, and also just handling them a whole lot. So I'm finding even after a few plays, I'm ready to sleeve those guys up. So, but I give a high recommendation to Pictomania. I think it's a really, really fun game. And who knew, a party game from a guy who does deep Euro games, you know, that's pretty cool. So that is Pictomania.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.